In most of my projects, whether it's illustration, web, or photography, I find myself creating shapes or something similar that just need rounded edges. And by default, there's a shape that gives you this out of the box from Affinity Designer, and you can tweak things in such a way that if you notice this little red icon indicator on the top left, you can just click and drag and adjust the corners by %. You can also adjust the corner by a more absolute size. If you want to adjust that, you can click absolute sizes here and you'll get millimeters in this case, since we've got that set up in our document. A neat thing though is if you have a specific parameter in mind, like say I wanted to use pixels, you can go ahead and type that and it will convert it automatically for you. It's here, it's just 0.3 millimeters. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little larger just to show by example. So here's 0.4. We have a very subtle curved corner as a result. So that's the rounded square shape you can use to start with. Say you don't use that to begin with, you use a regular traditional square or rectangle. Let me make this different colors to show by example. At some point you might need to adjust these corners, and you could do the same thing here just by going and converting that square shape to a rounded, straight, or concave cutout. All these corners allow you to make those adjustments. There's some preset parameters by default. Here's 25%, but you can see the power there. And again, if you want to set an actual absolute size, you can do so. You can use percentage, and that's fine, but it does use scale with the shape when you use that percentage. So that's something to note. An absolute size will remain the same. So again, maybe I'll do 10 pixels since I'm used to working in pixels. And you'll see the very subtle edges, but as we scale, those corners stay the same since it's an absolute size. Okay, so what if this box was a curved box? So maybe not just the actual square shape by default. So we want to convert it to curves. Say you're using illustrations and you have kind of an abstract shape going on, not a box in this case, but at this point we just have a curve as defined in our layers panel here. So we want those corners to still be rounded, but we don't have those contextual menus to help us anymore. We can actually use the corner tool. This tool allows you to grab any corner on the shape and tweak it to your liking. Here you can bake the corners if you like, or adjust the radius again, and even set the corner type. So maybe this one will want it to be a cutout. This one's traditional. So we do something like so. Maybe you're making an app icon or something like that, and this shape you want it to be a little bit different in size or color. So we'll go back and adjust that corner tool to actually be nothing, and we'll put this one behind this one, change the color. Actually, and for this lower shape, I actually will convert it to curves again, and this one we want to do the rounded effect, and we'll grab that and drag it and change this. There we go. So now you've kind of got that glare effect going on an app icon, so you can adjust it to your needs, of course, but that's just to show you an example of if you were to run into the case where you have just an abstract shape that's a curve already, you can still utilize the corner tool to go ahead and change those settings to your liking. Very powerful, and I'm really loving that tool when it comes to UI design and, for instance, buttons or even illustration. It saves loads of time from having to adjust those coordinates yourself. So if you entered the node tool, for instance, you wouldn't have to go ahead and edit these manually, which can get tedious, as you see. So that's a quick overview of using corners and rounded corners in Affinity Designer. Hopefully this helped you if you're running into trouble making sure some corners are rounded. Again, pay attention to parameters. So when you do create a shape, if it is, for instance, utilizing corners and you're using percentages, those will scale with the shape, so be sure to either set absolute sizes or just take to note that those will scale.